So guys, what we're going to do is we got just enough time today to punch in one more set before I got to go home and probably shower up and change clothes real quick. I'm still trying to knock down one more deer for the freezer, but so we're going to go ahead and punch in one more set. I'm going to make it a T-bone set, and I'm going to try to remember to get my kneeling pad this time. We forgot those yesterday. And the purpose, you guys, we have a dedicated video on T-bones. Check out right there, there's a link to the T-bone set. But if you want to know all the ins and outs about T-bones, but more importantly, I'm going to focus this time on how I dig a trap bed out and make it so solid. So a lot of guys have questions and struggle on how to make a trap bed solid. Because in my opinion, it's probably one of the most important things of all trapping. I mean, you got location, you've got scents, and people ask a lot of questions about location and scents. Well, here, coyote, if you'll see, there's a woven barbed wire fence up through there, and then there's a gate that coyotes can slip through, and they go from that farm, and they work that edge. See that edge all the way up and down through there? It's like deer hunting. I relate coyote trapping to deer hunting a lot. They travel edges and they travel funnels, and they're going to work that edge all the way through. Well, they're going to come through that gate right there. When they come through here, historically, I've caught a ton of coyotes along this way. And so people ask questions about location. There's your location. Scents, I don't think scents is as important. What I do think is really top on the list, location number one, and bedding your trap number two. Get that trap bedded solid. And so we're basically going to use this as a locator, as an attractor rather. Now I'm going to come back roughly 9 and 3. It doesn't really matter. That's not as big a deal. We can place dirt clods and a stick here or there to kind of guide his foot. We'll get it close, but the main thing is, how do we get this trap bed so solid? And you know, there's a lot of trapping's been around for decades and centuries, and I mean, this country was founded on it. It's why, I mean, if you're reading the description of our channel, if you go to the Stags in the Wild YouTube description, it talks about the playlist, and we talk about, you know, stepping in our forefathers' footsteps of people who founded this country. I love the fact that it hasn't changed drastically over the years, and we appropriate and take a lot of techniques. And I don't really think I remember hearing or seeing this technique from anybody else. I think honestly, this is one of the few things that I kind of just figured out on my own, and it's using a garden trowel for making my trap beds. And it's so funny. I actually had someone who was trying to be a smart aleck one time said, "We need to get you a shovel so you can dig out a trap bed." Well, no, I purposely don't use a shovel. I don't use those big claw hammers or those sod busters or things and make a big mess and bust out, you know, a foot worth of ground or 6 inches worth of ground. I don't do that on purpose. Right now, this ground is solid as a rock. It's been here for eons, okay? Why would I want to bust it all up and then try to repack it in tight? Just leave it solid. And all I want to do is get just enough dirt out to get my trap in here. I just want a trap bed. And I do this with the garden trowel. If you'll notice, I put my point of the garden trowel in the bottom, and I rotate I rotate the blade of the garden trowel around and around to dig this out. And what this does is it makes a conical shaped hole. In other words, it's like an inverted V, or actually a V, where the point is at the bottom. And that serves a couple different purposes. One is I'm going to create a space below where this trap's going to sit. The frame is actually going to float in midair. We'll show you that here in a second. But the frame of the trap really isn't touching anything. And the advantage of that is the bottom of a trap's not level. If you put it on a table, it's going to wobble, right? So I don't have to worry about digging an uneven bed or anything like that. It's just going to float in thin air. Secondly is it's a space for all the chain to lay in. I don't have to worry about the chain being in the way and the trap sitting on the chain and wobbling, anything like that. Thirdly, this is a great way to expedite moisture. If it rains, that we're gonna put our earth anchor right down the bottom of it, and we're gonna make a hole 12 inches deep that earth anchor is going to be driven through. And you'll see us drive that earth anchor through. Well, that hole is going to be there to expedite and help with drainage. So it will help this trap stay working a little bit better. Okay, we're getting to the point where that's about right as far as size and depth and shape and everything else. We just know that from years and years and years, hundreds and hundreds of traps of doing this. So Matthew, walk over here and you'll see it's just, I don't know, a little bit bigger than a softball. Okay, and let me go get a trap and we'll do a test fit. So pretty much if I'm going specifically after coyotes, I usually end up grabbing a No BS KO Junior. It's our favorite coyote trap. If I'm going after a mixed species bag, I know I might have a chance of getting some cats or some fox or something like that. I'll get a Bridger number 2 or something else. Or if I'm going specifically after cats, I'll use a double long spring exposed pan set. But this is a No BS KO Junior. And I'll get that nail that was between those jaws. Here it is. Make sure the farmer can't drive over that. And then I'll put some polyfill in here in a second, but you'll see those jaws just gonna fit inside that hole once I drop it down there. Now what's keeping it from fitting in that hole right now? Well, it's the levers. So what I do, I make 3 indentions. 1, 2, 3 on each side. I just lay that off to the side and I can just go in. You'll see I've just got a tidy little square. Now the roots may keep it from coming out perfectly square. And I want this pretty well level across. Now you'll see that I should be able to get it right in there. Now I know I haven't set the pan down. I'm going to put some polyfill underneath it. But right now I'm getting really close. You can see it's this spring was touching right here. So I had it just a little, not quite there yet, but close. It's getting about right there. I think another pivot or 2 will have it. It's not budging. So I'm gonna get some polyfill and we'll be able to put that trap in the ground. Well, I went over to the car. I actually had some right here in my bag. Okay, the easiest way to set a No BS lure KO Junior, grab it like this. Don't just try to push it down, it'll fire every time. Grab it with 2 fingers and set it real easy. Now, we use fin super stakes with a retrieval boss so that when you pull it back, it's going to hold like this, but when I pull up on this, I'm going to pull it straight back through the hole that I drove the anchor through. And we're going to have a separate video on why I believe it's the best earth anchor on the market. You see people all the time complain and like, how do I get my earth anchors out? You'll see people talk about, well, I've hit a big rock. Hopefully I can just bust through it. You'll see people talk about, getting an earth auger or post hole diggers or something. With that retrieval boss, you can just pull it right back up. I'm going to push that handle of that retrieval anchor up through there. And I'm going to get well, I think I'll just set this straight in. So my chain is going to fall right into that conical hole. Again, solid as all get out. And we hunted so hard this year, I didn't have time to make wax dirt. So we're kind of slumming it with peat moss. I'm using peat moss to fill in there, that way the native dirt is wet. It'll freeze when the temperatures drop down at night into the 20s. This peat moss won't freeze. And I can't tell you, I've got a buddy of mine who he just leaves it like this all the time and catches fur all the time. I can't help it. I've got to cover it just a little bit with some native dirt. Just can't stand to see the side of just pure peat moss. I probably should just leave it, because all I'm doing is giving it a chance to freeze up, but we're gonna keep it really super thin. Now what I'm going to do is toss that way back there. I'm going to grab some scissors. And because this is not a dirt hole, I'm going to go ahead and blend it in some. One more clump like that and she'll be gone. But we've got other videos on the channel about blending sets and what our favorite sets are and stuff like that. But the main thing is I just want to show you how we dig a trap bed. That trap will not move. And that coyote will be there when we get ready to come back and check it. So anyway, we're going to lure this up and we'll move on down the line. But thanks for being with us today. Hope we showed you how to build a solid trap bed, how to get those levers down in there. Thing won't budge if you build it right. Take some time, learn it. It's going to take some experience, but that's how we do it. And man, our traps don't budge.